You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 73. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, and welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. I love nothing more than listening and learning from another female entrepreneur, and my guest today is the ultimate business owner who is running an international business, has moved to America from Australia, and by the way, she's got 6 kids. Emma Isaacs is the founder of Business Chicks, and her book, Winging It, was recently released here in the United States. Emma decided early on that she was made to do big things, and she's literally one of the hardest working women I've ever met. She's taking us on her journey of what it was like to become a business owner and go from wearing all the hats to hiring a team who gets things done. Emma is a proponent of surrounding yourself with those that you aspire to be. And for her, that includes people like Sir Richard Branson and Arianna Huffington. She encourages you to simply go for it and wing it. Stop asking for the opinions of others and listen more to your gut. I was inspired by Emma within the first 10 pages of her book, and having had the opportunity to speak with her and her team has been one of the most pleasant experiences I've ever had, which is so important when it comes to customer service. Friends, I promise you are going to fall in love with Emma and learn so much from her. Listen for details at the very end on how you can grab a copy of Winging It as a gift from me. Hi, Emma.
Hi, it's so great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to talk to you. And like I said before recording, you're not Emma Wiggle, but you are close enough for my family to be excited that I'm talking to you.
Hey, I'm Australian. My name's Emma. Let's go with that.
That's all we need. They know EMMA, and they can do it in Australian Sign Language and American Sign Language. So
that's great. I love it.
We're good to go. Can you take a moment and introduce yourself to everybody, please?
Yeah, for sure. So, hey, everyone, I'm Emma Isaacs. I'm the founder and global CEO of an amazing company and organization called Business Chicks. And we'll get into that story, I'm sure, with Michelle in a moment. I'm also the author of an amazing, well, I think it's amazing. I'm completely biased, of course. You be the judge. My first book is called Winging It. And it's all about stopping thinking and starting doing, getting into action and getting on with things and not letting fear and failure get in the way of your dreams. So I'm sure we'll get into that as well. But it's just great to be here and to be chatting with you, Michelle.
Oh, I so appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time. I did read the book cover to cover and I loved it. Within the first few pages where you say, just stop thinking about it, stop asking others. That literally within the first few pages, that's what you say. And even for me, I'm like, oh, yeah, because I'll do that a lot where, hey, what do you think about this? And just that was a pivotal moment. Honestly, it's been a couple months, but I went, yeah, stop asking.
Yeah, I really believe it derails us. Asking for advice and running around asking every single other person what they think we should do, it really derails us. And I'm not perfect at this by any stretch. I still find myself falling back into that pattern from time to time. But I found that the best decisions I've made and my proudest moments are when I've had a decision in front of me to make and I've checked in and I've really listened to what I want to do and listened to my intuition or gut or whatever you want to call it and made the decision boldly and strongly myself. I think what we do is when we go, we know what we want to do, right? And then we walk around and we try and prove our own theories by asking everyone else if they agree with us. And often what comes back is, oh no, that's a really bad idea. And then you start to doubt yourself, all this it is self-doubt, isn't it? All these self-talk and negative self-talk comes along and it's just the fastest way to undo that critical thinking and that thinking that's led from the gut. So yeah, I think that's a really good place to start and not to always run around asking for advice from others. You know what's up. You know what you need to do.
And it takes practice. I know that for me, it started with when I take a client on and I had that gut feeling of like, this isn't right. This is
Mm.
not who I should be working with, and learning to trust that. But then now, as I continue seeing success, I still get that doubt that creeps in of, is it going to go away tomorrow?
And you know what? This is the thing as well I found. So in my business, Chicks, I've had that company for 15 years now. And you know, because you've read the book and you know a little bit about me, but I've been really blessed to work with some of the world's most amazing business leaders and visionaries. You know, people like Sir Richard Branson, who started off as a speaker for our company probably about a decade ago now and has gone on to become a personal mentor of mine. People like Diane von Furstenberg, Arianna Huffington, Liz Gilbert, I mean, the list, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kate Hudson, the list goes on and on and on. And sometimes what I think we do, Michelle, is we put these people on a pedestal and we think that they have all got it figured out, you know, perhaps more than you and me who are mere mortals, right? And so we think
Right.
they don't suffer from having these moments of, you know, self-doubt, and they do. They're as human and as fallible as all of us. So I've been working with these people and studying them and studying what makes them successful. But I think, again, it's really, really critical for us all to know that we are all innately human and we all suffer from self-doubt. And it's not as if you reach this level of success and suddenly you arrive at confidence and you arrive at, you know, perfection and you arrive at all these things that we're all...
Really, we won't. So
I'm here to tell you, it's not, you know, like it's an ongoing, consistent journey to get better each day and to get better than the day before. But it's not as if you know, suddenly arrive at all the courage in the world. You get better and better and better and better, and there's some mastery to it. But, you know, there's no arrival. There's no place to be. It's just an ongoing, and we're going to relax into that. You know, it's I've certainly found some comfort in that thinking and that learning.
So let's talk about your journey, because I love the moment that you figured out that you didn't want to go to school anymore was when you're looking for that toll change. And that just, you couldn't find that money. And it was like, that's it. I'm done with school.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, that story. I mean, as you can hear from my accent, I'm Australian. I grew up in Sydney, Australia. There's an amazing landmark there called the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And back in the day, you used to have to stop at the toll booth. And, you know, I think it was $2 back then to get across the bridge. And I remember having this moment. My college or my university was across the bridge. So every day I had to find the $2. And, you know, after one particularly kind of, I guess, boring day, and I mean, I'm obsessed with time. I love to use my time really well. I don't accept things that don't bring me leverage and joy and productivity. And for me, university wasn't giving me any of those things. So after one particularly long and dreary day, I was crossing the bridge to try to get back home, and I had to fumble through, you know, my purse and my car, and I could not come up with the $2 to get across the bridge. And that moment, you know, just made me kind of think, oh, what am I doing? And I think sometimes we have to snap, you know, to be put back together again. And I did snap in that moment. I thought, if I can't even afford the, you know, the $2 to get across the bridge, plus college is driving me insane, you know, I need to do something different. So I quit uni, much to my parents' horror. You know, I come from a very, very academic family where all of my cousins have university degrees, and not only degrees, they have PhDs, and they're a very, very accomplished group. So I didn't tell my parents at the time that I had dropped out. But, you know, really my life, like everyone's life, has been a series of fateful circumstance. And I went to a barbecue that weekend, met a girl there who we got talking, and she asked me what I was up to. And she had a little staffing agency. You know, she used to put temporary and permanent staff into different businesses. And I told her, I think I need to look for a job. One thing led to another. I got that job. I just made sure that from the minute I walked in those doors, I made myself as irreplaceable as possible, you know, and that meant walking in with a huge smile on my face every single morning, trying to be enthusiastic. It meant, you know, making sure that everyone had fresh water and fresh coffee on their desks every single day. I would clean out the trash cans. Like, honestly, it was the best job in the world. I got my dad in on the weekends to paint the office. I don't even think I told anyone I was doing that. You know, I just wanted to freshen it up. You know, I just really tried to apply myself and do the things that I could see needed doing. But I obviously had no experience in business. But if really a very, very short time after starting in that business, the girl that I'd met at the barbecue and her business partner parted ways, all very, very amicably. And as he was walking out the door, he turned to her and said, listen, if you're going to offer equity to anyone in this company, you'd offer it to that kid sitting over there. And he pointed at me. So it's a very, very kind of a bridge story of how, as an 18-year-old, I found myself as a 50% shareholder and sole director in this little tiny staffing agency. And we really got to work. So I was in that business for 7 years and we did really, really well. We won a whole host of different awards and had amazing clients and really grew it into a great, profitable business. And yeah, it was really foundational for me. It was really where I learned a lot about psychology of managing people and leading people and building cultures and making work fun and trying to be a magnetic leader and, all the other things you need to have as a foundation or a base to build a strong small business, understanding profit and loss, understanding the levers you need to pull. So yeah, those 7 years were really such a gift to me at a really, really young age.
And I think it's so important that we learn all of these different aspects, whether it's in the business that we start off at young or in our own business, just to know the ins and outs. And I know you've done this where you started with Business Chicks and you knew what everybody has to do because you've done it yourself.
Yeah.
And I really think that's so important for people to understand. It's not just overnight that you got involved with Business Chicks and boom, it was as big as it is. And it was just because you hired people. You actually did it all yourself.
Yeah. And, that can be frustrating for people. I'm sure I frustrate my people from time to time because I see it as my responsibility as a leader, not only of a business, but also as a leader of a women's community. But I see it as my role to take a stance on possibility and to say to people, we can do a better job here and we can be more and we can do more. And they look at me and they think, but I'm already stressed and I'm already stretched and I feel like I'm already working at capacity. And I'm able to say to them, I understand that, but let's really try and look at where your priorities are and how you're spending your time, because I know I've done these jobs before and I was able to find shortcuts and I was able to, it might be bill double the amount that you're billing in half the, whatever it is, whatever the situation is. So yeah, I get that it can be frustrating, but I think it's a really key thing for any entrepreneur to have experience in the companies and understand the different roles and functions, because it can really inform the business decisions you make and it can really help your people get ahead as well.
So let's talk about Business Chicks and what it is, because it's huge over in Australia. And I know that it's gaining momentum over here in the US. I'm a proud Business Chicks member. So let's talk about what it is and what you're doing with it.
Yeah, for sure. So really quickly, the origin of my starting Business Chicks was, really the way I built my career in the early days was through networking. I loved meeting people. I would often stalk people until they'd agree, to take a coffee with me or to become my mentor. And I just really tried to work on my relationships from a very, very young age because that's all I had. I didn't have experience. I didn't have money. I didn't have education. So I really just had to prove to people that I was worthy of their time and that I was the real deal and I was willing to commit myself. And so I love going to networking events, and a girlfriend invited me along to an event called Business Chicks. And at that time, and you've read the book, so you know this story, but at the time I just said to her, listen, that's the worst name I've ever heard in my life. I'm not going to anything that calls themselves anything chicks. That's just derogatory to women. I'm a feminist. I'm a serious entrepreneur. And she said, listen, get over yourself and come along to this thing. And I remember walking into that room and just experiencing something that was so special and unique and something that I'd never experienced before. I think back then, and perhaps still to this day, you go to these networking events and you have to put on your metaphorical armor, and you have to feel like you are more intelligent. You have to say the right things and you're constantly filtering whatever you're saying. But this was a space, somehow they had culturally created the space where women felt like they could be themselves and they felt like they could really, I don't know, it was very, very different. It was the energy was really high. It was well produced. So anyway, long story short, I ended up buying the business. That was 15 years ago. We have really grown from a community of 200 members to a community of over 500,000 women across the globe. And as you said,
Wow.
Michelle, massive in Australia and has a fantastic reputation there. I moved to the US 5 years ago now, so I live in Los Angeles, and I'm really focused on growing the American community, and it's been an absolute joy and privilege so far. In terms of how we make money from a revenue point of view, pre-COVID, we were running about 110 live events, and some of those events were smaller meetups of about, say, 100 people. up to 5,000 people events. We'd bring in guest speakers and different educators, and from an amazing show, we'd run things like knowledge and study tours where we'd partner up with a business school. So we've got a wonderful partnership here in California with the Anderson School of Management Business School at UCLA here. And also we partner with NYU's Stern School of Business, and we take our members behind the scenes of some of the most amazing companies like Instagram, and go into Diane von Furstenberg's studio and go behind the scenes at Disneyland, and we're doing all these crazy things. So it's a really vibrant and healthy community of women who want to learn from each other and want to hold each other to excellence. And it's interesting because a lot of the membership are entrepreneurs and small business owners, but a huge amount of our membership are also people who work in corporate. So we hope to meet women at their needs. Obviously, in COVID times, we've had to pivot to all digital delivery. So our events have been running virtually, but that's been a huge bonus for a lot of our members who have really enjoyed logging on and getting their hit or dose of inspiration from us. We are producing 2 or 3 masterclasses a week right now. So that's a huge energy that goes into that. But yeah, that's a little bit about our community and what we stand for.
That's amazing. And for as big as it is, it's funny because when I joined the Facebook group, I went through the members to see who I might be friends with.
Yeah.
And there is a very young woman, and I say very young because she's maybe 21, who her father used to work with my husband, and she lives in Australia, and you featured her in your magazine.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
and I go, oh my gosh, you're a business chick. I'm a new business chick. And I'm going to be talking to Emma. And she's like, that's amazing.
Oh, that's so good. You'll have to send her my love. That's incredible. What a great story.
Yeah. So it's a big world, but it's a small world. And I love that. And so far, everybody's been very warm and welcoming. And your team, you and Lucy, are just, you can tell you exude just kindness and generosity, even through your messages. I love that. And that's also in your book. Is I wrote down some notes of the key points that I really loved. And you say that you should care deeply. You should always make people feel special. And you practice what you preach because it's obvious just in who you are and the warmth and how you make people feel important. And that's really what your business is about.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you've read the book, so you know this. And really, the origin of that is the values that my parents taught me. I mean, we didn't come from a huge amount of wealth. We had a reasonably, I had a wonderful childhood, but, we never had any money. And, my parents just taught us to be really kind and caring to everyone. And they showed me that was possible in the way that they conducted themselves. So I've really tried to take those values and have them ripple through the business chicks community. And, I think that starts with seeing one person, right? And if you can actually see some person and listen intently and be there for them. And, when you're talking with them, really be there, and it's, again, just such a key thing that a lot of people are missing these days. We're trying to hurry and rush through relationships, and we're trying to, get the outcome we need. And I've always found that relationships take many, many experiences to create, and trust and credibility takes time to cultivate. So I think it's really about, when you talk about relationships and kindness, it's about having a patience, and it's about staying the course, and it's about doing things frequently for people over and over until, your reputation is built. And that's what we've tried to do at Business Chicks. And that's what I've tried to really look for when I hire people, are people who care deeply, are people who are going to, for all intents and purposes, act in the way that I would want to act, right? So because I can't be in all places, and there's no way I can service 500,000 people. So they have to do a little bit of that work as well. So that's what I look for. And so I'm so glad you found that with all of our team. And once you get to know all of them, I'm sure you have exactly the same comments, because they're all exceptionally wonderful people. They really are.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. So something I really wanted to ask you about, because you're a mom of 6.
Yeah.
And I'm a mom of 2 and 2 stepkids, and we've got a lot of moms who listen. So you hit on one point where you say, don't feel guilty. And I love that because you have help and you admit it. But one thing that I wanted to really ask you about is, since we've had COVID, you say in the book that you always go to an office. You don't work from home. But now you've been forced to work from home. So how has that been going for you?
You know what? I in a lot of ways, I was really lucky because we happened to, just by accident, renovate our home here in Los Angeles. And we kind of finished it in February last year, right? And then the pandemic hit in March. So the timing couldn't have been any better. We had this beautiful new home, which we had labored over, in terms of setting it up for our big family. And I actually did have a home office, in the plans.
Of course you did.
And now I've been locked in this home office for the past, almost year now. Listen, I have a sign on my door. It says, "Mom's on a call. Do not disturb." Do they ever listen to it? They do not. I have 2 school-age kids that haven't set foot in a school since last March. So they're, Zooming all day. And it's been really, really challenging. I mean, there's not a human who's unaffected by COVID, and everyone's got a story. I found it particularly challenging. I mean, my book came out in the US just a little while ago now, and I had a huge cross-country live book tour booked, from New York to right across the country to where I live here in LA, and that all got cancelled. So I've been in my little home office, talking to people about this hopefully wonderful book. And we've had many times where, the doors flung open and kids have marched in. So my kids are, the oldest is 11. They're 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, and the little guy's just turned 8 months just yesterday. So
wow.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Mine are just a year apart, and I'm like, that's enough.
No, you're amazing. I mean, to have 2 and 4 is just, it's an incredible dynamic. But what can I say? I mean, it is exactly as you'd imagine. It's quite chaotic. I think it's the Australian in me, though, that tries to approach everything with a fairly calm mindset, and I do work on it. I work on being present with my kids. I often fail, but I work on being present with them. I really try and close the door to my office when the day is over. And I know that sounds funny, but physically closing the door is a sign that, I'm not allowed to go back in there each evening or, afternoon. But yeah, I mean, like everyone, I have found it really, really tough. There's been many beautiful advantages and benefits to come from it. Obviously, spending more time with the kiddos has been a beautiful gift, and not traveling. Before the pandemic, I was on a flight most weeks, if not every 2 weeks. And, I haven't been on a plane since March. And I've got to admit, I'm having a little bit of low-level anxiety about having to go into airports again. And, it's funny how quickly your old life kind of, you forget it, right?
Yeah, it just vanishes. Yeah, my husband was traveling every other week or so. And, he works from home. So we're used to this being together all the time. But it feels like Groundhog Day. And you know what? I was going to say that your email this morning, because I had just said to my husband last night, I'm like, gosh, it's like Groundhog Day. Every day we get up, we go for a walk, we do school, I go to work, we afternoon walk. It's the same thing. And then your email popped in of, it may feel like Groundhog Day. I'm like, yes, Emma.
My mind. I know.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And who knows when it'll get back to somewhat normal. We shall see, because eventually I want to come to a Business Chicks in real life event.
Yeah, it's going to happen. We're going to make it happen. It's funny in Australia right now. I mean, they've handled the pandemic really quite beautifully, and they had one positive case the other day, and the whole state of Victoria sort of shut down around that one person. So we are back to some live events there, which is encouraging, but I think it might be a while until we run a live event in the US. But listen, we will do it when it's safe, and no pandemic has lasted for decades. We certainly don't. It's going to happen, and I look forward to the day of getting back to hugging people and holding space for people to come together. It's going to be amazing and make it even more special, right?
Absolutely, yes. We will be cheering with so much wine, it'll be ridiculous.
I know. Awesome.
I love in your book where you talk about when you're building your business, you should build it around your customers, not around a logo, a website. I find that when you see online, especially, there's so many courses of, I'm going to teach you how to build your business. And we're going to start with WordPress or Squarespace, and going down that rabbit hole. And it is a rabbit hole because it can be never ending, where you don't just do the actual work of finding your clients, deciding on what you're doing. Let's talk about how you build it around your business, because I think it's important. And it was something that I loved that stood out to me.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. I mean, in a lot of ways, I see myself as a little bit old school when it comes to building businesses, but I've been able to build 2 quite large businesses from a profitability point of view. And I think what happens these days, people take the wrong approach when starting new businesses. So they spend a lot of time on the things that don't actually impact the bottom line. And like you've alluded to there, they spend far too much time on their logo or their website or their business cards. And look, all those things matter. And yes, Instagram and all the other social media platforms can hold a really prominent and perhaps should hold a prominent space when building a business. But you really need to understand how you make money and really try and find that first couple of clients who are going to pay your bills. You read the book, Michelle, and there's a lot of information there about the different ways to scale a business. And my personal way has always been through bootstrapping. So starting a company, billing clients, getting some money in the bank and using the customers' funds to fund the next stage of growth, right? And really being smart with your money. I mean, I've never been someone who, I'm still to this day, I'm really frugal and I won't just go and spend a lot of money. I really watch every single dollar. I check my bank balance every single day, our cash position every single day, even though I'm not someone to whom numbers come really naturally. I have taught myself to fall in love with understanding my business's finances. And I've taught myself to put the right people around me that can both counsel and bring me in when I need to be brought into either a problem or, a situation. So I think when it comes to approaching how you're going to scale and start and scale a business, really understanding how you make money, where your audience is going to be, where your customers are going to be, getting clear on their personas, and getting clear on how you're going to reach them and find them. And you will find a lot of the time, of course, we're all on social and it's amazing. And, I give this advice and say, take what you need and leave what you don't, right? Because every business is completely different. But I do see a lot of small businesses starting and trying to craft a beautiful visual brand before they actually work out who their customer is and what the right price point is and, really getting those foundations right. So I think it's just, sometimes I think business and entrepreneurship gets glorified, right? People think it's so easy and it's
just like corporate travel. Oh, you get to see the world. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a beautiful analogy. And really it's just like, stale nuts at the back of a plane and dodgy hotels. But I just want to see people enter into business understanding that it's not as glamorous and the grunt work really needs to be done from the outset. And you will have time to craft a beautiful brand as you go, but the foundations and the fundamentals need to be looked at first and foremost. And don't shy away from that. You've got to understand if you actually have a real business on your hands or if you're kidding yourself. And sometimes people just don't have a viable business. And, again, we talk about this in the book. That's a conversation that needs to be had as well, because a lot of people stay in their small businesses for far too long and cause a lot of stress to their families. And that's not fun for anyone. But I'm on a tangent. I think it's all there, Michelle, really focusing on the fundamentals and getting that right before you get taken off different paths that ultimately cost a lot of money and take a lot of time and distract you from the actual business at hand.
Absolutely. I just received my first printed business cards and I've been doing this for 3 years.
Oh, you're doing better than me. I don't think I could even put my hands on a business card right now if someone asked me. Yeah, you're one step ahead of me. That's great.
Well, and I only printed them because they're going in client boxes. So
yeah, that makes sense. It makes total sense. And again, that's the thing. Everyone thinks there's a blanket rule that you need your business cards or you need your fancy Instagram account or you need your whatever the mechanism is. Really just trying to understand, again, bringing you back to what you need and what everyone else needs is perhaps not for you. So just being discerning, I think, when being faced with decisions, because money can fly out the door and you know all about that. It's like you have to look every single dollar and just be so discerning. And in a ways you have to be frugal as you're growing, until you get to a point in which you can start to experiment with marketing dollars and, other things.
I'm happy to hear you say that because you are as big as you are. And I like frugal because I'm cheap. I do not pay someone to do my website. I figure I can do it myself, so I will do it and I will save my pennies. That's my whole outlook on all of it, of why would I put money towards all of these other things when I know that I can do the basics, and the basics is really what it takes just to get it done so I can focus on what the real work is.
Yeah. I'm not going to name names here, and this is not meant to be big noting, but I have 2 very close friends of mine who are super successful entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs. And if I name the brands, you'd know them straight away. And they are two of the most frugal women I have ever met. Isn't that crazy? And they are billionaires. And
I love it. There's hope.
Yeah. I travel with these women and listen, they spend their money on experiences and they live wonderful lives because they have the resources and the means to do so. But they built their businesses by not throwing money away as they grew. They were really, 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 really conscious of every single dollar they earned, and they understood the value of those dollars. And, it still blows my mind. They're billionaires on, I remember being in New York with one of the women one time, and she was there with her son and I was there with my daughter, who would have been about 10 at the time. And we were in this souvenir store I don't even know where it was in Manhattan, but she picked up these fridge magnets, and she's like, oh, should I buy these 3 for $6 or should I buy these 2 for $5? And I'm like, I cannot believe it.
You can buy all of them.
You can buy this door. You can buy this island. Anyway, I just love that story, and I think there's a lot of truth in it, a lot of sound wisdom in it.
Oh, absolutely. And the experiences part, I'm the first one to go, let's go fly to Hawaii for a week. And, we're going to not have a place that's in the middle of the island. I want to be on the beach because these are the memories. This is what we're doing. This is a vacation. But yeah, then I'm the first one to go, oh, don't touch my website.
Yeah, I know.
I will spend thousands on that, but not a few hundred on other things.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm like, get the lemons from Trader Joe's because the ones at Ralph's are so expensive, it can be crazy, but you've got to have that mindset. I think it's really sound.
Oh, I love it. That's probably the best advice ever. I appreciate it.
I love it.
Emma, can you share where everyone can find you and Business Chicks and get their hands on the book? We are giving away a copy, so that's exciting news for somebody.
Yay. So I'm just at Emma Isaacs on Instagram, and it's at Business Chicks. And the book is available at all the good indie stores, also online at Amazon. I'd love for you to review the book if you get a chance, and all good bookstores. So yeah, I appreciate the support, Michelle. That's really nice of you to let me shout it out.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much. I cannot wait for us to meet in person.
Yay. Can't wait. Thanks for having me on.
I could listen to Emma talk all day long, and not just because she has the most pleasant accent ever, but because she has knowledge, expertise, and is so encouraging. Mark my word that when I tell you one day I will be enjoying Necker Island with Emma Isaacs. I would love for you to get the opportunity to read Winging It, so I'll be giving away a copy of Emma's book to a lucky listener. All you have to do is share this episode on Instagram and tag me. It's that easy. I'd love for you to join me as a fellow Business Chick member also, because the community is amazing and so supportive. Exactly what business owners like us need. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Emma and are feeling inspired to not only go after what you want, but to find the support in your business with those you surround yourself with, because that is what's going to help you propel forward in everything you do. Friends, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and start winging it.